Welcome everyone for this memory plan of the week of February 15. I'm using my Aura Estelle A5 wide planner, just clipping my little rings holes at the moment so as not to put pressure on the rings, and just taking you through this kit from Planning Choco. It's a nice summery vibrant kit. This is the second last week of summer for us here in Australia, and it's been a pretty mild summer, so I really needed to get into the summer vibe with a bright and pleasant pretty summer kit. Just starting off by going across the top of the days and adding the work stickers which came with the kit. And so I'm adding one for Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. This was going to be a short work week for me because we were heading back to Wagga. You might have recalled in my previous plan with me's a couple of weeks ago that we headed up to Wagga to say farewell to a friend of ours who is or was very unwell, and he has since passed, and we needed to head home to actually bid the final farewell in the form of his memorial service. So we worked the 3 days and took the Thursday to drive up to Wagga, and then the Friday when all of the activities were going to be happening. So that's why it was a shorter work week. I've done something a little bit unusual here in that I've put flat lays across where I've got those work stickers. It's not something that I've done before, but I had these flat lays in my stash and they had been foiled, and I thought I really need to use them. I use silver foil probably once every 4 or 5 spreads. It's not my most common after gold and rose gold, but I did want to use these up. And considering how large they are, they still seem to work okay. So I popped those across the top, and then on Thursday and Friday marked those with a couple of stickers from the kit. So underneath the Monday work sticker and flat lay, and those flat lays, by the way, came from Sincerely Dee Designs. They are printables that you can print yourself. So underneath there, using one of the headers or a quarter box, I've put Coffee Monday. That's Arctic Paper Studios, and I've added a coffee cup, and that one's from Mum and Me. In between there, I've popped down a little divider sticker, and that one is from Honey Inked. I just also noted down here on the tracker that the roads were quiet because Victoria was back down in lockdown after a recent cluster. And I have to say, the absolute best thing about COVID was most definitely no cars on the road. So if you've got to work, it's definitely the way to go, and it was thoroughly enjoyable not having all that traffic. So it was very quiet from that point of view. However, it was extremely busy at work. The phones just weren't stopping, and of course that generates lots of activity. So I did mark on the tracker that it was a busy day, and I've just popped back up to the top of the sidebar there with using a flag from the kit and added that this month was February. Popped down to my 2 habit trackers and added my steps and my vitamins as I usually do, and then underneath that I have popped down my gratitudes. I alternate, or sometimes if I can fit them in, I'll do a gratitude and the meals, but I've sort of been alternating that a little bit lately. Then underneath the tracker, I noted down that I had a meeting that evening, so I've used one of these little desk stickers and one of the meeting stickers across the bottom of it. So the meeting sticker is one of my own, just a little script with some tails on it, and of course I've slipped out of screen down there, which is naughty. I've been doing this lately and it's just something that I really need to keep better track of. I used a half box from the kit and marked that that meeting was going to be at 8 o'clock. That pretty well concludes Monday. I did have an appointment in the afternoon, just a personal appointment with something that needed to be sorted out, and that all went quite well. And then I've used a couple of Monique Plans little hearts on clear paper there, or clear sticker paper, to add to the basket of the bike and down on the little office sticker or the little desk sticker. So using one of the little things from the kit, I've just laid that across there, and I plan on covering up the little heart with an icon. So I'm just having a little bit of a think. I wanted to mark paying my registration, so I used one of the bows from the kit and just wrote on there that I had paid my rego on this day. And then underneath that, using a little money sticker from another kit that I had foiled and was in my sticker book of leftovers, I noted that on this day I paid some bills. So I just used one of the labels from the kit and, as I said, that little money sticker and a little pay bills script, which is my own. Just cut one end off that script and popped down the money sticker beside it, which was foiled in the silver. It's more of an American one, but it sort of signifies the paying of the bills. So that was pretty much the morning, and then I've gone down to the tracker and marked that we still remained in lockdown. So again, I was able to enjoy those lovely quiet roads. It was ridiculously crazy busy. Not sure why it had become so busy with everybody in lockdown, but I really don't know. Perhaps people were looking at starting to come back to normal, and part of that normality was going to be getting back to some of their health checkups and looking after the things that had been sort of left aside a little bit during COVID times. So that was all good. And at 1 o'clock on this day, I also had a meeting with the technical support team from our local PHN. I've just popped across onto the full boxes and using these little corners from Sincerely Dee Designs. Again, these are a little printable, so you can print them and foil them yourself. I'm just adding a little bit of silver bling to the corners of these boxes. The boxes are very pretty and certainly got a lovely summery vibe to it, but you can never have too much bling. So a little bit of silver bling for the corners. I really quite like these corners. They're not a huge statement, but they're subtle, and yet they add a little bit of something special. So that was quite nice, and I've just gone across the each day of the week and added those corners to the full boxes. Seem to have got into some very poor habits here, and I've jumped straight across to Thursday. I've absolutely no idea what happened to poor old Wednesday, other than saying that Wednesday was a disaster. Maybe this was a mental faux pas. we had phone problems. Telstra decided to cut off one of our main lines without any notice, and it threw us into chaos as we're quite heavily dependent on these lines. Fortunately, we have an amazing phone tech who worked terribly hard with me trying to get these phones sorted back out. Um, I had to drive to Wagga on the Thursday, so Wednesday was spent many hours on the phone to Telstra, and not a very happy situation, and certainly not a very helpful outcome. So our wonderful phone tech Wayne managed to come up with another option, and now that I'm doing this voiceover, I can say that everything is sorted, but at the time it was driving us bananas. So on Thursday morning, I marked this as a day off because I'd taken a day of leave to drive up to Wagga. We were planning an early start, but because of the problems with the phones and just me wanting to make sure that we had done as much as we can to divert things and create a workaround while I was away, that I was really needing to make sure that that was all in place before I headed off and I could drive without that on my mind. So I've used a little car there, and for that drive to Wagga, I'm not too sure. I think that's a Barney and Moon, that little car, but I will have to check because I'm not absolutely sure. And then I've just used stickers from the kit there, and then gone down to a little silver divider from Honey Inked again. It was a good trip up. It was not like the last one, which was pouring with rain the whole way. This was actually a really lovely summer's day, and we arrived safely after a good, reasonable time. And when I arrived at the motel, I just checked back with work to make sure that everything had been going okay and the workarounds were working. And fortunately, they were going quite well. So earlier in the morning on Friday, knowing that we had services and different things on in the day, I just sort of got my mind off things by popping up the street. It's still a country town, but it's got lots of good services, and I find that every time I'm up there, there just seems to be some terrific little sales on. So I had a very nice time with a little shop and a pleasant coffee, and picked up a couple of bargains. Then we popped back to the motel and got ready to head to the service at one of the local venues for the 1 o'clock service that afternoon. It was a lovely service. I mean, it was very sad. Those things always are, but it was more of a celebration of life, which is really as it should have been. And while yes, there were plenty of tears, they were definitely tears of having had some fantastic memories, and that's the way you would hope that you could send off a friend. So it went very well. And that evening we caught up with a lot of the travellers that had made the effort to head up interstate and what have you, and we all caught up for dinner that night, which again was very pleasant. So it was a long day, a sad day, and everybody was a little bit weary. So on Saturday morning I have used a couple of the washi strips from the kit, and after a couple of busy days, I managed to have a bit of a sleep in, which was rather nice. We go to the same motel each time, and it's not grand, but it is very comfortable and suits us well. So after having a little bit of a sleep in, I decided I might head back downtown and take advantage of some of those bargains again, and had a little bit of a browse around the shops, and picked up a couple of good things to bring home. So there was some positive outcomes to going up for a very not so great reason. So later that afternoon we caught up with some old friends, and we basically spent the afternoon and into the evening yakking. These are friends that have been a part of my husband's life for a very long time, and mine for a long time too. And it was sort of nice to go over the day's events previously, and talk about all the positive things to come out. It's amazing how funerals seem to come up with little, not so much secrets, but little pieces of information that people didn't know about someone, which was really, quite nice to have a chat about that and debrief basically. So after early bed on Saturday night, it was time to head back to Melbourne and head off on the long drive home, which was, again, it was really quite good. There was we left Wagga in about 35-degree heat, and we arrived into Melbourne at 23 degrees, I think it was. So it was quite a shock. We left with very light clothing on, and we were very much looking for the heater and some tops to put on before we came back into Melbourne. But fortunately, and thank goodness, we had a really pleasant and uneventful drive home. Everything went well. My car ran like a dream, and it was a really pleasant trip. As I said, we were pretty pooped by the time we got home, and so we decided that it would be an early bed night, and that's exactly what we did. So, the majority of the focus of this week was certainly our trip home. So in the last sort of month, we've done, many hundreds of miles, but these are the things that you do, and what happens when perhaps you've got friends interstate that you need to be there for. And so finishing off on Sunday, I just mentioned about the differences in temperature between Melbourne and New South Wales. And to finish off, the last thing that I wrote on Sunday afternoon was that it was a sad but fitting farewell, and I used a little suitcase there. And again, I've popped out of screen, but it was a little suitcase that I had in my stash. So I'm just showing you all the stickers that were left over from this kit. I used a good few of them, and I still have a good few left. So I'm just going to take you through a close-up of the week's spread, hoping to catch a little bit of the silver foil. It's probably the hardest of all of the foils to actually get on the camera. It's just challenging. So I've tried as best I can to pick up a little bit of the glint of the silver and go through the week. This was a challenging week with problems at work with our phones, and then heading off to a service that nobody really wants to have to do. So yes, all in all, a challenging week, and but there were some positives to come out of it, and it is all recorded in my memory plan. So thank you for joining me.